You're on camera.
Are we live now?
It's real.
Recording live?
No, it's not live.
It's live-ish.
We're live.
Good morning, world. Good morning, listeners. We are in Central Florida. It is 9:06 a.m. Not that that's important to anyone, but it's where we're at in our day. And we are gathered here today as Sun Leaders, and we have a group called Sun Readers, and that's why we're here today, to talk about an exceptional book with an exceptional human being. It's called 10,000 Miles of Miracles, Dames Gone Wild, Summer Service Adventure, Helping People, Pets, and Planets, with our author, fellow Sun Leader, fellow Sun Reader, real estate expert, and public speaker, Carol Jones Hasbrouck. So what I want to do is get to it. I want to do some quick introductions, and then we're just going to turn over to Carol. She's been guiding us through these conversations, and it's been just extraordinary. So I'm excited to share this with everyone. We always try to record our last discussion of the series, and we are fortunate enough to have incredible humans where we get to focus on local authors. So that's what we do. I'm Eric Nutting. I'm the owner of the Growth Coach of St. Petersburg, Florida, proud Sun Leader. And let's go around the horn. I think that's about all I'm going to say today until something pops into my head, led by Carol. So, Josh, let me turn it over to you.
Boy, thanks, Eric. And thank you all for being here and for being Sun Leaders. My name's Josh Naiman. I founded Sun Leaders and still have no idea how this community has grown to what it is now. But all I can say is I'm grateful. And right off the bat, I'm very grateful for Carol for offering her time, taking the time to write this wonderful book and engaging with us in this way. I think it's just awesome that we're able to support local authors in this way. Very cool stuff. But I own Naiman Creative. We do marketing, creative production. We produce the podcast that, if you're listening back on this, you're listening to. So do all sorts of cool stuff and made Sun Leaders. So it's been a true pleasure on this journey. I'll kick it over to someone above me. Carrie, go ahead.
Carrie, you said? That would be me. So Carrie Reich, and I am a fellow Sun Leader. I have joined this call. Candidly, I have not been a Sun Reader. I apologize, Carol. It will happen, but the conversations that everybody has had at Sun Leaders on how amazing this hour or each of these hours has been, I happen to have one available, and I said, I'm coming in to check this thing out. So I'm here just to enjoy the conversation, the fellowship, and whatever else may come of it. Thank you.
All right, maybe kick it over to Ryan.
Good morning. My name's Ryan, fellow Sun Leader podcast host and owner of CIO.legal. Carol, I have enjoyed your episodes of the podcast so much and the stories you tell about your journey. I have not read the book, but I've heard so much about it, especially some of the particular parts that have stood out to people they've shared in the meeting and everything. So I definitely encourage folks to pick up a copy of 10,000 Miles of Miracles or listen to our podcast, listen to Carol's episodes where she talks about this Dames Gone Wild Summer Service Adventure. I'll pass it on to Janine.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of connectivity issues this morning. So, but just wanted to say hello. I'm Janine Pearlstein, and have truly enjoyed reading this book and the discussions that have followed. And I'm really looking forward to today's discussion as well.
No, thank you. And last but not least, Laughing Mary Kay, can you hear us? If you want to unmute before you hop back into the pool there, maybe she already jumped in the pool. So there you are. Can you unmute? There's probably an icon with a microphone. Just tap that guy. There it is.
Good morning. Great to be here with you all. I've been wanting to get on this, and this is my first day I'm able to. And I love travels. I love Carol. I've known her for many years. We've all been in different groups, and my business is sound healing and laughter, HTML. that's been in existence for 21 years. And I have another wellness business that I created, an LLC called Living Well Water. So drink your way to health. And thanks. I look forward to hearing all about the travels.
Awesome. I'm going to jump in here now because now we get to listen to Carol. And Carol, if you could, since some of these, this will be an introduction to some of the audience out there as to why you wrote your book. If you could just kind of set that groundwork for us and then take it away as you do. We're ready.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, everybody. I am Carol Hasbrouck, and I wrote the book, 10,000 Miles of Miracles. Little plug, you can buy it on Amazon.com, and it makes a great Christmas gift. So I wrote the book because I had to. I didn't have a choice. It was put on my heart. The whole journey was put on my heart. I use the word God. You use whatever you need, universe, source, whatever, higher power, whatever word works for you. I use the word God. It's just a word. And the journey was put on my heart by God. I was compelled to do it. And of course, it created miracle after miracle for me. And then when I love to write. I've always been told I'm a good writer. And I kept a pretty detailed journal while I was on this trip because it was a 3.5-month trip. And I kept a detailed journal. Had I not done that, I would never have been able to write the details that are in the book. I wouldn't have remembered them. So I just highly encourage anybody that is thinking about, I didn't even know I was going to write a book, but it's just important to keep a journal if you want to remember, because as we go on with our life, those details get forgotten. So we are a leadership group. We are Sun leaders. We are Sun readers. And the overriding message of the book in this context is servant leadership. And before everybody got on the call, Janine and Eric and I were having a discussion about the hurricanes and helping one another. And Janine made the comment, really that's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're here to do. Not necessarily supposed to do, but that's what we're here to do, is to help one another. And I firmly believe that. And I live my life that way. I've always lived my life that way. And frankly, I do that because it makes me feel good. So there's a selfish aspect to it, but at least it's helping others in that selfish aspect. And I've helped others in many, many ways in my life. And I'm not tooting my horn. I'm just saying it makes me feel so good. I can't get enough. I have to keep doing it. So what struck me this morning, I read the very last chapter before we got on the call, and it's called Why Trust and Faith Matter. And so we left with $500 in our pocket, and we knew we were going to be gone we thought we'd be gone 4 months. We ended up being gone 3.5 months. And we thought we'd travel 6,000 miles. We ended up traveling 10,000 miles. And we left with $500. And there were times we got down to $50. There was a time at the grocery store that we couldn't buy the groceries because the lady said, "I'm sorry, your card doesn't work." And so we freaked out, and then we prayed. And then that night, my aunt had deposited $500 into the donations account. And so why faith and trust matters. We went looking for the good. We went looking for the miracle. We went looking for love. And guess what we found? So we're in a time right now in our country, and I'm not going to discuss who's right, who's wrong, because frankly, I don't know who's right and who's wrong. But what I do know is there's a division amongst people. And if you go on Facebook, any of the social media, you see it, you hear it, you read it. And so I know that if I stay centered in knowing that everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be in this moment in time, and it's all good, and it's all going to work out the way it's supposed to work out, and source or universe or God or whatever you call that is the one in charge. I'm not the one in charge. Now I have self-will, but I'm not there. And I have to have trust that it's all going to work out. So my mission on earth has increased tenfold, and that is to love more. Half of my family voted one way, the other half voted the other way. It did not change how I feel about those people. So I need to bring that out into the world and not feel differently about somebody because of the way they voted. So those are a couple of things I'd like to talk about. I don't know if they have anything to do with the book. The servant leadership, that's what I really like to hear is, how has servant leadership benefited you in your life? What's an example of servant leadership, and how did that create miracles in your life? That's probably better to get back on that topic.
This thought of trust and faith is essential and interesting to me. You talk about servant leadership, and then you also talk about your inner guidance system, which is what we're really following when we yield to that which we have faith in and that power which we trust. But what's interesting to me when we talk about servant leadership, as we do in pop culture, so many times we take it and we twist it the wrong way. And I see where some people are leading with servant leadership as almost a marketing ploy and a brand. And so there's this thought process to me where we think of servant leadership. And Carol, you're just a great example of this, where I get there's always this what's in it for me component. And you're saying it makes me feel good. It feels like the right thing to do. And I think there's an altruistic sort of component to this. Can I just help blindly, give what I have, give what I can blindly, regardless of what comes back to me, knowing that great things are going to come back to you? Josh?
Right. I think we could use the raise hand feature during this call. I think it'll be helpful, but I loved how you're setting this up. It's refreshing to hear your perspective on current events, Carol. For me, I feel like I needed to hear that, so thank you. And like for me, servant leadership kind of started when I started to teach at the Art Institute when I first got out of undergrad. And I taught there for 6 years, and I felt like, in a way, because the pay is not there, that's not what I was in it for, but I was able to, I feel like, help a lot of people along their path, and that felt really good. And I've been harnessing that feeling in educational components for Name and Creative, my business, and that's my long-term plan with my business. And then more recently, and more appropriately for this conversation, Sun Leaders was my vehicle to really do that. And you all have participated in that leadership, and I feel very grateful that we're all seem to be in alignment on that how important community is and lifting each other up. I really think leadership is about uplifting another, not you being over someone. And I feel like that's servant leadership in a nutshell, because it's you coming from underneath and lifting someone up. You're a servant to them, or the needs of what needs to do for the greater good, etc. And then after you're done reading Carol's book, there is a book that's on my bookshelf, and that was recommended to me a long time ago, literally called Servant Leadership. So I do recommend that after reading Carol's book. It's literally called Servant Leadership, and so it's right along that thread. I'm going to kick it over to Ryan.
I love what you're bringing up, Carol, and the perspectives that you're offering, Eric and Josh. For me, something that hits home, like one of my or a part of my higher power, is the truth that we get to choose meaning from experience. We get to choose what our experience means to us in our life. So often we don't get to choose our experience. But when it comes to service, you can choose service. And for me, it's been one of those experiences where I know I get this repeat meaning in life that it suits me well, makes me happier. And I think sometimes we talk about, well, this is a little off topic, but I'm going to try to bring it back quick without getting tangential. But that there's more to life than money, that wealth is a measure of more than just currency or your bank account numbers. And I think happiness and exercising that conscious choice in how you extract meaning from experience is a part of wealth. It's how I define wealth. And it leans into or is aligned to that kind of higher power that I trust when it gets really hard. And I'm so grateful for Sun leaders in this community because we've had a hard few weeks, and it's been very inspiring how folks have come together to help each other out, one foot in front of the other. Sometimes it's hard to do it for yourself, but it's a little easier for your family, for your friends and your community and your role models. And we've got a lot of all of that in this group. So I'll pass it on to the next.
Thanks, Ryan. Who else? Carrie?
So this reminds me, and I don't know if, again, having not been part of the other sessions, but what everyone's talking about, and Carol, you used a word that earlier you mentioned God, and what is that, whatever you call that. And I've been following this couple that leads the Kabbalah Center, and they have a Spiritually Hungry podcast, and they talk a lot about our souls, and that we truly succeed when we are doing our soul's true purpose. I know it sounds a little woo-woo, but it kind of, I think, falls right into this, where they, in their belief, anytime you're hitting a wall, you're not doing whatever that thing you thought you were supposed to do or want to do or have setbacks, in their philosophy, it's because it's not what your true soul's purpose on life is supposed to be doing. And it's, I guess, a lot of this sharing loves, leadership, servant, what am I here to do? And I think it all kind of fits right into what you're talking about. I've been kind of leaning in a lot to that whole, as Eric and Josh know, we had a very interesting impromptu post-Friday conversation, which was very interesting to say the least. But yeah, I think it all fits into everything that we're talking about here, and just it's kind of fascinating to think about. So yeah, it's really understanding what we're here to do, and what we're supposed to do, and if we're doing what we're actually supposed to be doing and meant to be doing, it will all just kind of fall into place the way it's supposed to, I guess.
And create miracles, so creating miracles, or not even witnessing miracles, is a really big part of my life now, is to pay attention. And they can be little, there's no sense of order, there's no grand or little, or anything can be a miracle depending on who's looking at it. But that's a real big purpose of my life right now. And so you mentioned purpose, Carrie. My gosh, when I finally figured out what my purpose in life is, and that is to write, teach, and speak, it changed everything. Now, I haven't taken that initial, I have, because I wrote the book and I am speaking. So I have taken that initial step forward, and I'm going to get Eric and Josh to help me move it forward even more. But when I figured out my purpose, wow. I mean, all of a sudden I was at peace. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And even in real estate, my purpose is to educate people when they're buying and selling their house and help them make decisions. I mean, that's really what it is. It's an education. There's some paperwork and facilitation to it as well, and knowledge that I have to have that they probably don't have as a layman. But it's helping people, and it's teaching. And man, for me, there's no greater purpose. I know Eric helps people, but we all probably help people find their purpose. So thank you for bringing that up, Ryan, because that is, or Carrie, that is huge. I think you both talked about it. So Eric and Carrie both have. So Eric, we can't hear you.
You're still muted, Eric.
Hello. what's interesting to me are the things in life that trigger us to change our perspective. And Carol, you started out on this journey by a life-changing event. Something changed your life and you said, this is what I'm going to do. And you took this journey and you documented it. So I'm curious, how does life change for you after? Is it the event that changes your perspective? Is it the journey? And then how do we hold on to that as we think about specifically this servant leadership? I would trust that you were prone to it anyway, but there's something that refocuses you, isn't there? And I think there's always something that refocuses us.
Well, the Japanese, I think it's the Japanese, have the same, maybe it's the Chinese. So crisis is also the same word for opportunity in one of the Eastern languages. And crisis is when we grow the most. Unfortunately, when we're tiptoeing through the tulips, we're just tiptoeing through, we're just enjoying the now, which is what we should be doing all the time. But it's not until there's pain or disruption on a major level that we stop, let me speak for myself, that I stop and say, okay, what's going on here? What is it I'm supposed to learn? What is it I'm supposed to do differently? And how can I do that? And for me, it was so big that I just had to give it up to my higher power, to God. And then God showed me the way, the entire way, over and over and over, which was just beautiful. Carrie?
Yeah. So, well, it's interesting you're talking about with the real estate, helping people and educating them. And I guess I'm a podcast or junkie on things like that. So there was a twist this week in one of the daily videos that I listen to every morning or watch every morning. And it was a twist. It was basically partially about negotiating, and we're all in this, I think. This is a very different vibe and a different group, but I think most of us, when we're networking, our goal is to meet people and to help our business and grow our business. And there was it was kind of in that side of things. It was a twist on the old, I think it was Zig Ziglar that said, help enough people get what they want and you will get what you want. Now, I don't know how long you have to wait. If you spent most of your time giving people what they want, when's it coming back? But this was different. This was in terms of just kind of, I guess, I think that the overall arching of the conversation was kind of about negotiation and things like that. But I think the twist was, if you understand and help that other person discover or know or pull out of them what it is they want from you and your relationship and what you provide them, you have a much better opportunity to actually provide it to them. So understanding when you're with somebody, and again, it could be, even in personal situations and relationships, what is it that they are looking to get out of this? And when you understand that, then you're better able to provide it. And then obviously it, in a perfect world, comes back to you as well.
Mary Kay?
Yes, I was thinking about being of optimum service with everyday opportunities. And this weekend is Veterans Day, and I happened to click on a show, and it had the Veterans Boat Parade was canceled. And I just absolutely love veterans. I've played therapeutic music at the VA. I honor them all the time, from my father's generation on down. So there's a great show coming from Washington all day Saturday and Sunday afternoon. And I'll try to put up that screenshot if anybody's interested in that. I was thinking about also some work I've done at Sacred Lands, like right after 9/11/01. The co-owner and I started a world peace meditation, and we've been meditating there that was in 01, so this is 24, for a couple of decades. And what it does is it makes us more peaceful people to go out in the community, and then we send that vision and vibration out to all parts of the world. And there I got to do my art and craft too. I got to do, I had a group there, I think it was in 13, and it was called Mary Kay's Healing Laughter Club. So it was sharing joy through music and laughter with people, and a lot of people would come in as skeptics. So leading them through exercises and joy, entertainment, and interaction to know their lives can get better, to be a positive conduit in the community and in society. I think all those things are part of building up oneness, self-growth, and helping the community. Thanks.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Just wanted to say you've asked one question. It might take over the whole time.
It's okay.
Yeah. Point that out. Great.
Ryan?
I really like the conversation about purpose and the points that are being made. And to echo that on Veterans Day, thank you for everyone who has served, past and present. And hope that you have a good weekend wherever you are. If you're a veteran or family and friends of veterans, I've had many in my family. But I was thinking about somebody that I've worked with previously. I won't share their name, but they were a veteran, and they were a great example in my recent business experience of somebody where their purpose was clear. They were very aligned with their community, their purpose, their business. It revolved around that. They were married to a veteran in Special Forces that was retired. They had served as well, and they were aligned with the VA, and that was like their entire business was helping veterans in their capacity as an attorney that's associated with the VA. But they really that was their focus. They were like, that's what we do. They would go to the VA conference every year. They'd set themselves out as clearly aligned with a purpose in a community. And what comes out of that for me, especially through the experience in Sun Leaders and what a couple of people have talked about on their podcast and in groups about the importance of purpose in business and in our life choices, it makes it a lot easier. When it comes to sales, beyond that kind of transactional, one-off type retail experience, if you're looking to build a relationship, like a long-term relationship with a client, trust is so very important to that. When you're working with somebody day in, day out, or every week or monthly, you've got a subscription, a contract, what have you. And it's really hard to trust people. But when you see the purpose and the community behind them, and it's clear that that's important to them, it's a lot easier to trust that. And maybe even, in my experience, be willing to be a little flexible in that relationship because you're committed and aligned to that purpose. So your expectations for them is a little bit different. And even in business decisions, because you're aligned to that purpose and you see yourself working together, you're culturally aligned, working towards the same goals. It's when it goes from this is just a vendor to, a partner in my business. So that stands out for me.
It's time to stop thinking about your website like a car. Instead, think of it like a home, because you want it to be an asset. Like a home, assets appreciate in value. And that new car is going to lose a significant chunk of its value as soon as you drive it off the lot. Luckily, Name Creative is here to help you build your dream home. We will make your website appreciate over time, so you're able to publish quality, user-focused content at a high pace, own it, so it's yours to build and scale your business systems, be resilient to technology and security changes, keep it fast, safe, and secure with regular maintenance, and generate more leads. Contact us today at info@neimancreative.com or visit our website at neimancreative.com to get started.
Thanks, Ryan. Janine?
I love this conversation about purpose, and it's so fascinating to be thinking about, when are we motivated to do what we're meant to do? And I think that there are things in our external environment, we were talking about the hurricanes earlier, that take us off our track, that take us off our game. And sometimes it's hard to get out of bed in the morning for ourselves. We can get knocked off our game, and we start looking for that purpose or that drive or that motivation internally, and it's sometimes hard to come by. And Carol, I was thinking about, in the book, and you're talking about these days that you and Joyce were beat. You were just tired. You had been doing so much work. You've been doing so much traveling. And if you were relying solely on your own just kind of drive to get up and get going out of bed in the mornings, that might not have been enough. But for the fact that you were doing it for somebody else, you were doing it for a cause, a reason, a purpose that was bigger than just the soreness in your muscles or the fatigue in your body, and that drive. I think that when we connect our meant to be or our meant for more with beyond ourselves into what other people love and find reason in, it's in that connection that's really what gets us going. And I read that time and time again, Carol, in your stories about how it felt to me like it was no longer about you. It was no longer about Joyce. It was about the connection and the drive that got you going. And I know from my own experience that when I'm connected to something bigger, it's almost like my own limitations fall away. It doesn't matter how tired I am. It doesn't matter how much I believe in myself or my ability to do it. It doesn't matter how much I feel like I'm resourced moving forward. I can tap into that bigger resource, and that's what carries me forward, and that's what gets me going. And I think that's, in this greater discussion of purpose, that's a meaty place to exist, and it's something that's so great for us to remember, that we have that available to us always.
Yes. Carrie?
So I'm going to say something that's going to make maybe everybody laugh or maybe not, because it was yesterday, the day before, we're talking about purpose and why. And I literally stopped and said, do we have to have that? Can't we just be and get up every day and do what you do? It's just it was funny that literally was in my brain yesterday. I mean, what's wrong with just getting up and doing whatever happens and whatever happens. And I just thought it was very funny that we're having this entire conversation today when that, not that I subscribe to that, but I was like, what about all those people that they just go and do their thing? They don't even, anyway, I just thought it was funny.
Relevant.
Real quick on that.
Josh?
Page 14, what you just said, Carrie. I want to go over this at some point before the end of this call, Carol, because you have a list of the many valuable life lessons you learned at the top of the book. And I'm appreciative that you put that at the front of the book and not the back of the book. It kind of prefaced my mind. I loved many of the points, but what Carrie just said, you have a great one-liner. It says, you are a human being, not a human doing. So I just wanted to plug that.
I like that.
And we forget that. We forget that. We stay so busy, myself included. And my spiritual leader, Dr. Pulley, who's part of this group now, he reminds me, Carol, go to the beach, go to the park, sit down. And because I think I need to stay active, and I don't think it's because I'm avoiding something, but maybe it is. But when I can get quiet and be, is when I can really tap into my inner guidance system, which is the whole point of my podcast and my new career. Oh, that word just kills me, but it's okay. My new venture, let's put it that way. My new adventure. Let's use that word. Because I feel like I'm too old to start a new career. But anyway.
I thought it was your new being.
My new being. There you go, Carrie. Thank you.
Oh, there you go.
And if I'm going to tap into that inner guidance system and hear what it has to say for me, for my purpose, for my day, for the next moment, for this moment, whatever that is, I have to be quiet and be still. So thank you for bringing that up, Josh, because I did want to talk about our inner guidance system. Eric?
Honestly, I'm just on my best behavior right now, so usually I would have blurted this out. But Carrie, you just described retirement. That's what that is. Something I'll never do. But, so I'm looking at the page that Josh referenced here. This is interesting to me. Carol, you bring this up. It's not your place to judge when others act out. Boy, to my observations, that's a tough one for civilization, but that's interesting to me. I see Ryan's hand up.
But Eric, do you understand why it's not your place to judge?
I sure do. I speak to it often in my coaching, and it's very challenging to move that needle for some.
So tell us, in your perspective, why it's not our place to judge when others act out.
Well, I won't give you the why behind it, but I'll tell you there's a significant difference, and I speak to this often. There's a significant difference between tolerance and acceptance. We need to rest in acceptance. When people say I'm tolerant of that behavior, I'm tolerant of that lifestyle, I think we're missing the point. Once we get to that place of acceptance and understand that somebody else's reality doesn't have to affect us negatively, we don't have to be rooted in fear on that, as long as that other human is not trying to do us harm, then we're in a fine space. I just don't think that somebody else's reality needs to affect mine on the level that so many of us think that it does.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I can agree with that too. It's just a slightly different perspective, but I think it gets in the same place, that action's about responsibility, not judgment. And I think that kind of boils it down to that responsibility. Like, do they actually threaten me in some kind of way? Or am I just angry? Because, like, they're not responsible for my emotions. My anger is my problem. It's okay to be angry. But I can't just be like, oh, this person that just cut me off made me angry. Like, no, I just got angry because I got cut off. Like, they clearly have somewhere important to be.
You mean like when they got in the right lane, even though they were going straight? That person?
Yeah. I guess because I was there the ring up, flip you on, and traffic is a practice for me. It's something that I've kind of over the past maybe like year or two, I've realized that traffic is often an opportunity, not a crisis. To bring that back, but it's an opportunity for me to practice like that action's about responsibility, not judgment. Like, I'm not the center of my universe. Not everything's happening to me. The red light didn't catch me. You know what I mean? Like, that person didn't cut me off. It's not all about me. So,
Mary Kay. And I find that, sometimes people are just doing what they want for themselves, and then you might get hurt in the traffic. And so I just have to let that go, accept that person, place, thing, or situation the way it is at this moment, or else I can't be happy. But when I'm judgmental and critical about it, takes me to a lower consciousness, like vibrating below 200, and it blocks all my positive thinking and my ambitions. So, and I can speak my truth in like I feel statements, come out and say, I felt hurt or resentful at this. And I can say what I mean, but I don't have to say it mean, because when I go to the fear and the anger, then it's harmful. And my last thought on purpose is, I used to play music at hospice, and help people transition. And so my purpose statement is, we're all here to help each other get home. And that's wherever your end is, but we're all here to help each other get home. Thanks.
That's
Eric,
nice.
Josh, I think your hand was
Wait.
up first.
Okay, I'll take it to keep things progressing. Love the analogy of traffic. It's a great reminder. Thank you both, Ryan and Mary Kay, for that, because that is one of the more challenging parts of my day in as far as mental. The difficulty for me that has been training my wife and I is having a neighbor who acts in a particular way where after that interaction, they don't go home. That's like they stay in proximity to you. So that's been ultra training. And so just to comment on that, but I wanted to bring it back really quick to what you were talking about, Carol, with what you're doing with Dr. Poley. And for me, I just did the doctor yesterday and just talking about the business and, my mental health and making sure that I stay healthy. And ultimately, just being, I wanted to bring this out, that just being allows you to do the work or do whatever you're doing much better, much more effectively, more efficiently. I truly believe that you need the rest or the space or the time to reset in order to actually do better and more effective work. There are several musicians on this call, over half, that I'm at least aware of. And there's a reason for rests in music. They're as important as a note that follows it. I just want to throw that out there.
Eric?
And there's so many buttons to push. So I don't want to take us back too far because we've set aside an hour and we've got about 10 minutes here, 10, 11 minutes. And we can go over. Nobody's going to, there's bad things aren't going to happen. But for future readers out there of your book, Carol, the page 12 and 13, there's so much juicy stuff in here. Page 12, 13, 14, 15 that Josh pointed out they're huge. So future readers, I encourage you to dig into this. But Carol, what's next for you? And what is your call to action for us as readers and for us as people who kind of want to dig into this thought process of servant leadership, inner guidance system? How do we listen to it? What is your guidance for us?
So my next step is that I desire to do public speaking events with regards to people learning how to hear their inner guidance, how to distinguish between their ego and their inner guidance system, and how to follow that faithfully to see the miracles that happen in their lives and to create the life they desire and the life they deserve, which is purpose. You got to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. Or you don't have to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. It just makes the day a lot brighter if you do. So that's the next step for me. I don't know how that's going to unfold. I've never been able to, like, when people say, what's your 5-year plan? I'm like, I'm lucky if I have a 5-day plan. Like, I really have never been able to conceptualize 5 years from now. And I used to think that was a bad thing, right? Because all the business coaches and everybody, I worked in banks for years, sorry, I'll write a business plan for this year. I don't know if I'll ever pull it out of my drawer again, but I'll write it for you. And somehow I've survived. But so my vision is to continue to be a servant leader by enriching people's lives through the spoken word and the written word. And I love the podcast because it gives me practice in doing that. It gives me the opportunity to invite people that are interesting to join in that conversation. And it allows, I'm so glad Ryan picked up, that he listens to that and picked up on the book more. And it allows me not everybody's going to read the book, right? But it allows me to talk about my lessons that I learned in the book on the podcast. So I think I answered the question. Did I? Did I answer the question?
You absolutely did.
Okay, good.
And then you brought up something that I would like us to jump into just for a second. And now we have 8 minutes or
Okay.
8 minutes plus. But Josh, Carrie, and I were talking about this at the end of our Sun Leaders meeting. And I don't think I did a good job answering the question. I understand, but I just didn't do a great job. So Carol, I'm going to let you take a swing at this. The relationship between ego and interguidance system. When do we listen to which? We have ego can be healthy, right? Because we've had this discussion before.
Sure.
But when do we push that ego? How do we control? How do we harness that? I'm going to see if you can help where I could not.
How do we harness our ego?
Well, in terms of you're differentiating between your inner guidance system, which and correct me if I'm wrong, which if we lean into it and we listen to it and we yield to it, we're probably in a healthy space. When we allow that ego to kind of take over and it's self-driven, there are challenges. And I think Josh's point in our discussion was, well, people think they're listening to their inner guidance system, but to the other observer, it is misguided. And I think we're seeing that in our political system right now. So that's, I think, where we're trying to find some definition.
Well, you nailed it. You said self-driven. So ego is always about me. And it's okay. I gotta take care of me, right? I gotta put my own oxygen mask on first. Ego helps me stay out of trouble. It helps me stay out of dangerous situations, but it's always Carol-centric. The inner guidance system includes me because I'm part of my world, but for me, it's to help others. It's that servant leadership. It's to say something I pray a lot before I open my mouth. I have not always done that. And it's gotten me into trouble. So now I tend to, with customers, with friends, with family, God, please help me get the proper words. So that's my inner guidance system. My ego wants to tell them what I think is right. I want to, my ego wants to be right. My inner guidance system wants to be happy. And the inner guidance system for me is something that it's a voice that doesn't go away. So I don't have to listen to it. I don't have to do what it's telling me to do, but it's not going to go away. It's just going to keep telling me. My ego, it's very, what's the word when you're it's very fickle. My ego is very fickle and it wants to be right. That's what I find the most about my ego is I want to be right when I'm sitting in my ego. When I'm in inner guidance system, I want to do the next right thing. I don't want to be right. I want to do right. So I think that explains it the best for me. Make sense?
It makes sense for me, but I think there's still opportunity for pushback on it. And I think that's just a difference of where people are grounded in their faith and their belief system. Carrie, you had a thought on this?
Actually, it was less on this. It was more on Carol. I mean, forgive me for speaking the obvious, but have you either joined or registered with or looked up the First Florida and then National Speakers Bureaus? Because there's organizations always looking for speakers. And if that's a purpose and something you want to be doing, I have actually met and followed several people now for several years that I met at a conference that I was at, and they were either one of the side or in fact keynote speakers. And I would think that would be, you've got an interesting, compelling story. I'd probably want to think about what kinds of groups, what kind of organizations would resonate most with that story you're trying to tell, and reach out. Just a thought as far as trying to make that happen. And the other thing I was going to suggest, again, as far as travel and not needing it, maybe wanting, I don't know how far you want to travel, but one of the things I did a few years ago, this is completely tangential, is I was looking at maybe doing some trade shows for my business. And the first thing I did is I went to the Orange County Convention Center that has a lot of trade shows, and just went down their schedule of trade shows and events and thought, oh, I might be interested in that. And you could potentially do the exact same thing and then look at who's having shows and reach out to them. It might be a year from now, but reach out and say, who's on your speaker list? I'd like to be considered. So just something to think about.
Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, that's why I'm getting with Eric and Josh, so they can help me with those kind of thoughts. But I'd like to hear your pushback, Eric.
The pushback, actually, I'm probably going to partner with Josh on this, because Josh is, as you listen to that answer, Josh, because really I'm taking the conversation you, Carrie, and I had, and my failure to define the difference between a healthy ego and an unhealthy ego. Josh, do you have thoughts on this?
To not dominate the next 2 hours of our lives. Carol has invited me on her podcast, the next recording of her podcast. And we are literally going to dive into that, among other things. Can we save it for that?
Of course we can.
Yeah, because I'm going to encourage people to check that one out, because I think we're going to dive deep into, my thoughts on that. Because just to let you know, I'm in complete alignment, but I do think there's room. We had mentioned on the very first discussion of this book, we had talked mainly about the inner guidance system. And one thing that was brought up that, Carol, you kind of gravitated towards is maybe I should put together a checklist of how to align that guidance system. Am I not ego driven? Is it, focusing on being a servant leader rather than a me leader and me focused only, or whatever that may be? And I think that's probably what needs to be there is, just like what the scientific method is for objectivity of reality. That is a barometer of how do we agree on what shared reality we all participate in, regardless of how you feel or I feel, or how you feel is right and what I feel is right, or the answer or not. So I might leave it at that, and then hope that part two for that, if that's all right.
Sure.
That's meaty.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, because we don't want to spoil the surprise of the podcast.
Just certainly not. I don't know what's necessarily, but we're going to find out.
We're going to find out. That's right.
I'm excited to listen to it. You keep bringing up page 14, 12 through 14, what have you. This list is amazing. There's one in here that really stands out to me that I think is it hits the nail on the head for me. Helping others gets you out of your self-absorbed thinking and gives you a higher purpose. And we were talking about purpose and how much easier business is when you have one earlier, and how a lot of people are looking for it. But what it actually is for you, who's to say? But I really agree with this, that helping others gets you out of that self-absorbed thinking, that ego that wants to be right, that wants to know exactly the details of that higher purpose before you put one foot in front of the other and actually help somebody. But if you don't have the answer, maybe just help somebody and you'll, figure it out as you go, or it'll come to you. Sometimes you just have to do the thing, even if you don't have the answer, because that challenge, which I think I hear Carol saying, is that it's getting the answer right. It's not having the right answer.
Thanks, Ryan.
I think it might be a good idea to have a last word for everybody, and then obviously give Carol a last word. And then I want to preface our next book, but you guys feel like that's good? Because I have a couple points that I want to make.
Sure.
But Ryan, do you feel like you got everything out?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm aligned with the group, the mission and vision of Sun Leaders, and certainly the message that Carol has both in her podcast and this book. So I think we're doing a great job. I'm grateful to be here, and I like all of you guys.
That's great to hear. I 100% resonate with that. Feel the same. last word, Mary Kay. Go ahead and unmute first.
Okay. Yes. I am so grateful that I came this morning to see of you and to hear your input and the larger questions that we answered that I did not realize that we'd even be pursuing purpose in the servant leadership. So good. And I just put in the chat the Veterans Parade Day.org, I think it is. So, and I sent Josh a picture, the screenshot of it, for all you that want to give gratitude to veterans. And thanks for this group so much. Good thought provoking, and Carol, for your inspiration, because I've written about a third of my memoir, a lot of dolphin tales. And I used to go to a Dunedin writers group right at this time, 9:30 to noon. And so I'm inspired to get writing more. Thank you.
That's wonderful. How about you, Carrie? Any last thoughts?
So I will tell you one of the things I got out of this, and Mary, if you haven't written this yet, we'll sit down and co-write it. But what came to me out of this meeting, and I'm gonna just spitball an acapella that goes, say what you mean without being mean, because there's so much innuendo in between. I don't know the rest of the song or how it goes, but maybe it'll be the first song the Sun Leaders Band creates.
That was great. Yeah, after we do the vocals for the intro music,
Well,
we can add that as the next.
Mayor, I don't know if you made that up or you stole that from somebody, because I don't think I've ever heard that phrase. I loved it.
And Carrie, I wanted to be in touch with you. If you could give me a shout out or put your number in there. So
Sure.
And I wrote a little chit chat quick line the other day, and it says, have you been naughty? Have you been nice? Or did you even think twice?
All right, I just put my cell in the chat.
Okay, thanks.
Sounds like a new holiday jingle.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Eric.
I think Ryan had a thought. Did you have a thought there, Ryan?
No, just left my hand up by mistake.
Okay. I think any final thoughts I have run the risk of extending us. So I'll just say thank you to everybody for being here. Let this be the beginning of a discussion, not the end of a discussion. And anybody out there who stumbles upon us, please pick up the book, read it, and engage with us. We'd love that very much.
I love what you just said, Eric. One thing that I wanted to point out about what your book, I think, means to me and what these discussions mean is that the book, just like you starting out with an inspirational question that is resonating from the book, is I believe your book, while I was reading it, got me thinking about my own life, my own journey, what I'm doing, what I can do. There's an inspiration there. And then the inspiration of all of these conversations that we've had in this book club has been mind-blowing. They've been unbelievably meaningful. It's the people who are here and obviously we're in tune a bit through the organization that we're involved in, but your book is the conduit, you and your book and your work. And, I know I speak on behalf of Eric when I'd say I'm excited to talk to you about what and help you along what this next venture is for you, because it's clear that you found extreme purpose. And I feel like you're only going to hone in more on that. When you do, it's going to be a very powerful thing. And so I just wanted to say that. And really quickly, to bring it back to the book, I wanted to, because early on I highlighted my favorite valuable life lessons from pages 12, 13, and 14, which it seems like everybody feels that it's powerful. I'm going to, aside from the ones that have already been said, give you my highlighted ones, because I think these are very powerful and they resonated with me very much. So these are the lessons that you learn, life lessons. The first one, the essential goodness of people. That's a huge one to keep top of mind. And the second one, taking time to play, that rest, so that you can be and do. Acknowledge others with a smile and eye contact. As a business owner and just a human being, that goes so far. Like when I'm running on the trail and someone makes eye contact and smiles and waves, we both feel so much better about that, rather than like just being in your zone. Sometimes you're just in the zone. I don't hit everybody, because sometimes I'm in thought. You are a powerful being creating your own reality. Love first so you can fully love others. We talked about the oxygen mask. That was definitely throughout this. All life begins with a thought. Life is better when lived in a state of gratitude. And the last one I have is the only person you can control is yourself. Those were very meaningful to me. So I just want to thank you for all the inspiration and your engagement and participation. Carol, it means very much to me. I look forward to our podcast and many more discussions.
Thank you, Josh, and everyone. It has been such an honor. This is the first book club I've had with my book. I hope to have many more. So those of you that might be listening to the recording, if you're part of a group that does book clubs, I'd love to be included in that. And I have goosebumps all over. So I know that spirit is in alignment with what I'm saying. And it's just the beginning, right? And sun leaders and sun readers and fun leaders, it's just the beginning, right? And what a beautiful group of people that have aligned and attracted one another to inspire each other. And I look forward to just knowing and loving you all for a long, long time. And my heart is full, and I'm very, very grateful that you chose my book to be on the Sun Readers. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That means a whole lot. And I can't tell you how meaningful it is to hear how you speak of Sun Leaders. Ryan mentioned it. It's been mentioned throughout this call.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty incredible how the community has come together in a different way, a unique way, and you're right. We're a year old, a year young, so just scratching the surface. So we have a lot of room to grow together and be together and rest together, aka fun leaders as a part. So we're going to have fun. So thank you again, Carol. Really quickly to end it, I wanted to hold up the book. We have been talking about 10,000 Miles of Miracles, Dames Gone Wild, Summer Service Adventure, Helping People, Pets, and Planets by Carol Jones Hasbrouck. And I wanted to then lead it right into, I realized the other day, Eric's wife, Diane Nutting, is going to be our next Sun Readers. And she has a book that she wrote a while ago called Hurricane. We didn't plan this, but we very much look forward to taking a break from reality and diving into the world of fantasy. And we'll be reading this book next. I already have a signed copy myself, so I look forward to diving in. Just wanted to give everybody a heads up that that's what we'll be reading next, is Hurricane by Diane Nutting. And I just want to thank you all one more time for being you and your participation and engagement. You mean a whole lot. Much love to everybody.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.